welcome to Inside Gaming Daily for Monday. It's Monday, it's the start of the week, and we got to give you all a good round of applause for getting out of bed. It's Monday claps. Yeah, we got it for everybody.
Almost didn't make it.
Almost, it was rough. Borderlands 3 released on Friday, and it's been having some issues.
Did it leave a USB stick with porn on at a nightclub? Is it getting into amateur magic?
Boy, those are deep Randy cuts. Pedophilia. But no, I actually do think that there is a shield in the game that references the lady ejaculate. We'll just put it there. Let's hit with the good news first, because there is actually some good news. Early reports that the game is doing very well, even on the dreaded Epic Game Store.
You mean my review bomb on Steam didn't scare people off? I feel so impotent.
I know, it's tough. Now, apparently, it's seeing big player counts on PC, and it's the #1 console released this year in the UK. So it's all good news, right, Brian? All good news.
Not so fast. There's just one little issue. Apparently, it runs like crap. So, not great. We're seeing lots of reports from both PC and high-end console users that Borderlands 3's performance leaves a lot to be desired, especially when you try to run it on the highest settings, which is why you have a good PC or an expensive console, right?
Most notably, there have been some issues reported on the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One, and Digital Foundry tested the game on both consoles and concluded that there are some puzzling technical decisions in place and clear performance issues that need work.
Yeah, this is something that I kind of noticed the moment I hit the game. It's like, this is Borderlands, right? It's a living cartoon. It's not like we're dealing with ultra textures and ray tracing and crap. Everything should be able to annihilate this game, but somehow it seems like it's having trouble. Specifically though, Digital Foundry is talking about what's called resolution mode. That's the 4K 30 FPS mode that you can choose over the more stable 1080p 60 FPS performance mode. Both consoles should be able to do this. This is what the Pro and the One X were all about. 4K at 30 or 1080p at 60. That was supposed to be the standard, but apparently that's not the case.
Digital Foundry tested both in the game's resolution mode, and they noticed that the PS4 Pro actually looks superior, but it performs so much worse.
Oh, Sony fans blown out. Blah, blah, blah.
Sorry. The Xbox One X ultimately plays well in resolution mode, the PS4 Pro doesn't.
How can the PS4 Pro not handle 1080p 60
It's called a Pro.
Yeah, hot. So what did they note on the PS4 Pro, Brian?
They noted, and again, this is in resolution mode where they tried this, combat often plays out in the mid-20 FPS range, which isn't really good enough at the best of times, let alone for a Borderlands experience.
Cinematic, baby. All you need is 24 frames. Scientists have yet to invent a number higher than 24.
25?
What is that? Still though, Digital Foundry noted that the Xbox One X had issues with the game as well, even in performance mode.
Yeah, they wrote that on the Xbox One X. Combat sees performance tumble into the 50s, punctuated by longer frame time stutters that add further inconsistency into the experience. If you're battling in a vehicle, it drops into the 40s.
Ooh, crap.
Yeah, 144 hertz or death. That's what I say. Digital Foundry went on to write, if I had to guess, I'd say Borderlands 3 pushes CPU just a little too hard here for the X to cope with adequately, which is interesting because yeah, most games are gated by video hardware nowadays, and if it's a CPU heavy game, maybe it's got a lot of physics rolling around in there. I can see why it might be bottlenecked there. The PS4 Pro performs worse than the Xbox One X in performance mode, which makes sense because the hardware is a bit weaker. The teraflops are a little less there, with harder frame rate drops apparently.
Interestingly, people on base PS4s and Xbox Ones have reported actually fewer issues aside from some slow inventory screens. As for local co-op though, the reviews are a whole lot worse.
Yeah, remember split screen? Co-op, remember? Why don't people make it anymore? Turns out it's really hard.
What's a couch?
So what was going on with split screen co-op, Brian?
People notice major issues if you try to play split screen co-op on a console especially. Some people have said it's virtually unplayable. I even asked about this on Twitter and got lots of responses. People specifically mentioned co-op being terrible, just lots of frame rate issues, inventory is really bad, so it's gonna need some work.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's virtually unplayable for me because I don't even have a real life friend. There was a giant thread on Reddit over the weekend with people complaining about the game's performance on various consoles, because how else are you gonna spend the 5 minutes after the game crashes and has to relaunch than just bashing out an angry comment, pounding that send button?
User Garbage Timeline reported that it, quote, runs terribly on an Xbox One X, writing, performance mode is mandatory for stable frame rates. It's borderline unplayable on resolution mode with choppy sub 30 frames and little to no observable upgrades in quality. Another poster, Breathmint V2, what is up with these names?
People are coming out with good name games these days.
Said that they tried to play a split-screen co-op on the PS4 and said that the game was badly optimized for split-screen. They wrote that, quote, the menus are absolutely atrocious to navigate through because of all of the stutter.
And this is a game where you do a fair amount of diving into and out of menus. It's kind of the thing.
Yeah, you got a million guns to switch through. Like, you're gonna be in the menus a lot.
Yeah, you will, to the delight of all of your friends while you're trying to transition zones. Who's still in a menus?
As for the PC, there are apparently some issues depending on how good your machine is.
Fans have been flooding into forums complaining about frame rate drops as well as other more normal gripes about balance and loot, you know, the usual stuff. It's even been spilling into Borderlands 2 Steam forums because Steam doesn't have Borderlands 3 forums.
The site TechSpot tested on a variety of graphics cards and noted that the game seems to hammer the CPU quite a bit, and with some quad-core owners complaining about horrible stuttering. They suspected that DRM could be behind that.
Not again! No!
De Novo, here we go.
X-Files theme starts playing, say, yeah, no, Autumn's gonna take care of that one. It does use de Novo, Borderlands 3 does, and people have accused it of affecting games' performance in the past. This has long been the rallying cry against DRM, namely that if it costs you one CPU cycle more than it should, it doesn't belong there. There's a whole history with de Novo. What is that, Brian?
Like you said, this has been a really common complaint. A couple years ago, some hackers who cracked the rhyme de Novo claimed that the anti-piracy software was actually slowing it down. Specifically, they said it performed tons of periodic checks to see if the copy was legitimate, but they said that increased load times and affected performance.
It is really easy to believe those claims, and in fact, I do. But I also think that there's a lot of fire thrown behind believing those things, motivated by other motives, which is necessarily that I don't want DRM on my game. Which is fine. It's not fair to punish legitimate users because there are illegitimate users out there trying to steal it. And I kind of get that. There's tons of research out there that I think point to it actually having an effect. I mean, this issue came up back with Devil May Cry 5, and the good folks at Digital Foundry again tested it out. They found that, yeah, there was a performance hit, but it was probably small enough to where you wouldn't have noticed, writing that the DRM version delivered 93% of the performance of the unprotected version.
Nope, not good enough. Get rid of it.
I mean, you're on PC because you really like tuning machines, and what you don't want is some garbage running on your machine that drags performance down. You dumped that $2,000 into the back of your PC to get all $2,000 of performance out of that. Why should
every drop?
Yeah, why should 7% of your frame rates go to some bullshit DRM? I get it.
Meanwhile, there are even more bad PC reports. Some say that they're even losing their save files. Specifically, some people think that the issue is with cloud saves. We've experienced a little bit of that. Yeah, with some people saying that they noticed the problem after activating cloud saves that caused their progress to be completely erased or reset to at least an earlier save point.
I'll throw this out there. Borderlands 3 does save files locally on your computer on PC. It's in your documents folder, it's classic. Still, other PC gamers notice problems when they try to save locally too, so that's not great either.
Okay, so it's got issues, but could all this be fixed with like a patch? I mean, it's a safe assumption that Gearbox is hard at work on that as we speak.
Yeah, but still, it's a shame because this all gets wrapped up into a greater narrative that game developers are lazy and they're cheating us, and how dare they not respect their audience. It's just a sad state of affairs when such a highly anticipated game could perform this badly, even on high-end consoles.
Meanwhile, the game seems to be doing actually really well when it comes to sales. So far, it's the biggest box game launch of the year in the UK, beating out Days Gone, surprise, which released for the PS4 back in April.
I mean, Days Gone performed surprisingly well.
Surprisingly well.
Yeah,
so I think the word here is surprise.
Interestingly, it sold less than half of the physical copies that Borderlands 2 did back in the UK, but that was many years ago when people weren't buying as much digitally, so we don't have the digital sales numbers yet to add to Borderlands 3, so it's hard to get a good idea of how it's stacking up relative to Borderlands 2. So there's an industry-wide shift here that kind of accounts for that. Still though, biggest box launch of the year, that's a good indication.
And on top of like the shifting ways that metrics get reported, we don't get US sales data anymore either. It's just UK, or even physical retail.
We have to like extract everything from UK sales numbers now.
Yeah, which even that is, you know, one region can't speak for the entire world. And no one reports digital unless it's something worth bragging about, which old Randy Pitchford's not gonna miss an opportunity to brag about something. Yeah, he tweeted on Friday that the game's concurrent user count at launch was, quote, about twice as high compared to Borderlands 2. That's probably the most direct and most meaningful metric we could possibly get. There are twice as many people playing at launch than there was in Borderlands 2, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, then he tweeted on Saturday that their peak numbers were still climbing, making it the best numbers in Gearbox history. Then a day later, he tweeted on Sunday that the concurrent numbers were even higher than yesterday's record-breaking numbers. How high can they get? I don't know, Randy. He said the response greatly exceeds expectations and our systems seem to be holding strong.
So the numbers bit is really fascinating because there was a whole dust-up leading up to this game's launch. As it has widely been reported, Borderlands 3 is an Epic Game Store exclusive on the PC.
Yeah, that led some outcry from fans and the usual review bombings, but it doesn't seem to have actually hurt sales.
Yeah, this is a narrative that has kind of emerged a lot of times. You know, there's some passionate Steam users out there who swear, I will not be buying this game. But then the game launches and all the metrics we see is actually that it didn't hurt performance really all that much at all. So we're connecting a few very loose dots here. We don't have any actual data, but these numbers imply that the average gamer doesn't seem to care about where a game launches and will go to wherever these games are releasing, which is sort of the knowledge that we've had for a while. Exclusives sell systems, exclusives also move storefronts.
Yeah, you can bet that other developers are paying attention to this too, and this could affect future decisions about whether or not they go to the Epic Game Store. We've seen other games report that going to Epic didn't hurt their sales, as we've been talking about. Even THQ Nordic reported that Metro Exodus, which was another Epic Game Store exclusive, also sold well, saying that it had the biggest launch in company history, and that the Epic Game Store was the leading digital platform for sales.
I mean, I guess it's easy for it to be the leading platform when there is no other platform. So yes, a lot of circumstantial metrics, but it shouldn't be surprising, right? I think that there's just a community of PC diehards that swear to God that they're steering the ship when it comes to that market, and are maybe coming to the realization that they're not as big of an audience as they thought they were. As much Sound and Fury as there is about Epic exclusives, it could just be Sound and Fury signifying nothing. Hopefully we've rounded up everyone's particular grievances with the game, because yeah, they does seem to be popping up everywhere. On any individual platform, everyone seems to have problems. I mean, we played on PC a lot, and whew,
Oh, we have problems.
yeah, there were some fun ones. I know
I
that.
want to talk about it.
Actually, so it's funny to bring that up. Some people have accused Epic of shady practices about how they dole out reviews. I mean, we got one because we shilled for them really hard.
That check really helped, huh?
Yeah. No, we didn't even get it out on time, and we're sitting up here saying the game's busted. So I don't think that there's necessarily a whole lot of like smoke and mirrors going on with that, because I've seen that discussion pop up a little bit. I think it's mostly like, yeah, if you talk shit about them in the 6 months leading up to launch, they're not going to give you a code. There's no surprise there. So yeah, it's a whole bunch of issues rolling around. The game's not 100%, but at some point the game's got to ship, and that just so happened to be now. So a couple of patches down the road, we'll circle back, and hopefully it'll be fun then. The problem is, all your friends may not be playing that. This is the issue. Everybody's going to burn themselves out on it, and when it finally works for you, then all your friends have moved on to the next big thing.
Borderlands 4.
Borderlands, Shadow said in his video, it was stressful, quote, having two people in suits you don't know show up to your home.
Do you think it's the suit specifically that got him? He just has a phobia.
Yeah. If it's just like a dude in board shorts and a polo shirt being like, hey, stop posting those videos.
He'd be like,
God, dude.
I got you.
That only happened a few weeks ago. This was apparently part of a larger 10-month investigation by Take-Two and 2K